Arizona today is, shall we say, Chicago-like, at least this spring. Warm temperatures, lots of sunshine, and we're set for Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. The Padres and Cubs in Cactus League action. We welcome Cub fans from all over the country watching on WGN America, America's home for baseball. Hi again, everyone. Along with Bob Brenly, I'm Len Casper. Welcome to Ho-Ho-Com Park. Should be a huge crowd on hand today. 12 games to go before opening day here on WGN on April 5th. Bob, every year one guy seems to kind of come out of nowhere and have a huge spring. Wouldn't say Joe Mathers come out of nowhere previous big league time, but he has really made an impact.
He's made an impact not only on his own coaching staff, but on every team he's played against down here in the Cactus League. This is a very versatile player. He's played all three outfield positions. He's played the corner infield positions where we know the starters are going to be left-handed hitters. Joe Mather is a right-handed hitter. He seems to be a perfect fit for Dale Swaim's bench.
And as we get closer to opening day, you might see a position player or two go all 9 today, which is a bit of a difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference, and it's something that has to happen before the end of spring training. As you know about spring training, early on, guys have a couple of at-bats. They get the running in the outfield, and they head home before the end of the ball game, but need to get the legs underneath them, need to stretch them out a little bit, get used to being on your feet for 3.5 hours.
Left-hander Travis Wood will get the start for the Cubs. We'll also get a look at Randy Wells on the mound today as well. Another gorgeous day. Cub fans galore here in Mesa. And we'll have the Pods and Cubs next. To you by Budweiser, the official beer of the first inning. Great times are on deck. Grab some Buds. Pepsi Max, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. And by Ford, manufacturers of more fuel-efficient vehicles than any other brand. Check them out at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. Big crowd on hand here at Ho-Ho-Com Park. Cubs at 10-12-1. The Padres, this is a split squad. They come in at 13-9 and hitting .294 as a team. That leads all National League clubs. You see Venable, Jerko, Alonso, Darnell, Grandal, Hermida, Andy Perino, Jonathan Galvez, the double play combo with Anthony Bass. That's good bass on the mound.
Let's check out how the Cubs take the field defensively today. Behind Travis Wood, brought to you by Pepsi Max, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. Be the starting outfield, Alfonso Soriano, Marlon Byrd, and David DeJesus left to right. Baker, Barney, DeWitt, and Mather across the infield, third to first. Wellington Castillo in a spirited battle for that backup job will be behind the plate for lefty Travis Wood.
And a rough spring for Travis Wood. His first pitch, though, is a strike. He hasn't pitched a lot, but you see a ton of hits and a bunch of runs in under 5 innings of work. He's just looking for a good outing. Gain some confidence here. And at this point, it certainly appears as though he'll start the season at AAA Iowa. Not that big, 5'11", 175, gets a bouncer off the bat of Will Venable, able to knock it down and get the out.
Not that Travis Wood needs me to defend him, but in my estimation, he's one of those finesse guys. He's a pitcher that moves the ball around, relies on movement and changing speeds, and it's just tough for those kind of guys to come into spring training and impress. It's going to take a little while to find the right splits between his off-speed pitches and his fastball. It's going to take a little while to get his location down, and unfortunately the Cactus League has not been very forgiving as he tries to make those adjustments.
This is Jed Jerko, the third baseman. G-Y-O-R-K-O. Wind is blowing out to left. It's really heating up again. Tim McClellan, longtime crew chief, will work the plate. Jerry Davis is a crew chief. Jim Joyce, Mike Everett. We've got a bunch of veterans working this one.
And only 1 out of the 4 has ejected me before, so that's good.
81 degrees. And we have had, and today probably not the case, but we've had several days over the past 10 days to 2 weeks where it's been a lot warmer in Chicago than here. I think it was last Sunday. We got some rain in the area. It was about 30 degrees warmer in Chicago than in Mesa.
Almost makes you want to have spring training at Wrigley Field, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're getting ready. The early forecast looks good. That's going to drop foul.
We kind of joke about the weather between Arizona and Chicago, but I think any of us that are realistic understand that we're going to have some very cold, windy days early in the season. I know that's a shock for a lot of people, but that's a huge adjustment after you've been down here in the sunny climes of Arizona for 6 weeks, every day in the mid-70s or 80s, and then suddenly go back to start the regular season, and it could very possibly be winter again.
There is some cloud cover, and I think this is one of those days you talk about a lot. Well, that foul pop, I lost it right as it got into the horizon. Those wispy, almost white clouds can cause some issues on pop-ups. Cubs were working on their pop-up priorities before the game.
And it wasn't easy. A number of those pop-ups hit the ground before hitting a Cubs glove, but as the drill went on, they got better and better. The communication got better and better, which is exactly what you want to happen in those drills. It would be nice if the very first time around everybody did it perfectly, but the idea is to learn and get better and understand those priorities when the ball goes up in the air.
Looked like a pretty good pitch. Wood didn't get it. It's 3-2. Well, I should mention this right off the bat. The guy Travis Wood was traded for, Sean Marshall, may see his role change in Cincinnati. More on that in a second. There's a chopper sending the birds scattering. And Darwin Barney, who made a couple of errors at short on Thursday against the Rangers, able to handle that one with no trouble. Ryan Madsen, signed to be the new closer for the Reds, has blown out his elbow. He's out for the year. A very significant injury as the Reds made that announcement today.
We were talking about it before we went on the air, Len. The Reds bullpen would seem to have a number of able-bodied candidates to fill in, but the reality is that's going to put guys in roles that they were not expected to fill this year. So it remains to be seen how that will affect the Reds bullpen.
There's a former Red, Yonder Alonso. The Padres first baseman of the future was Anthony Rizzo. And he got traded to the Cubs, and now it's going to be Alonso, probably the present and future first baseman, as he singles into left.
Well, we saw some of Yonder Alonso with the Reds last year. One thing we know about him is he can hit. This is a very, very accomplished young hitter. Has tremendous pull power. He goes to the opposite field extremely well. Has a good eye for the strike zone, and when he gets a ball he thinks he can handle, he puts a pretty good swing on it. Hits it over Yonder.
And a strike on James Darnell. He's playing left. Mention a split squad. The Padres playing 2 today, and that's why their manager Bud Black is not here. He's over in Peoria. As the Padres are playing the Reds. Another chance for Barney, and the throw goes to DeWitt to end the inning. Padres come up empty against Travis Wood. The Cubs are coming up. Now Dale Swaim's Pepsi lineup, brought to you by Pepsi Max, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. DeJesus, Bird, DeWitt having a good spring. Look at Alfonso Soriano. 5 home runs for the Cubs left fielder. Baker over at third. Barney at short, as we mentioned. The hot Joe Mather hitting 7th in front of the battery of Castillo and Wood.
Quick look at the Padres defense today. James Darnell in left field, Will Venable in center, Jeremy Hermida over in right field. It'll be Jed Jerko, Andy Perino, Jonathan Galvez, and Yonder Alonso third to first across the infield. Another former Red, Yasmani Grandal behind the plate today for right-hander Anthony Bass.
Bass, 24 years old, probably will be in the Padre bullpen. And his first pitch is low to David DeJesus.
Bass is basically a 2-pitch guy. Fastball, slider. He will sink his fastball. He'll throw a 4-seamer to go along with it. Occasional straight changeup, but you'll see a lot of fastballs, a lot of sliders.
To bouncer, and Alonso clanked it. And DeJesus is going to hold at first. Like that ball hit the lip of the grass and did not come up and went underneath the glove. That'll be an error.
Alonso Playing in a little bit, thinking that DeJesus perhaps would bunt for a hit and put himself in a position where that ball played right off the lip of the grass. The rule of thumb for any infielder is low to high. Start with your glove low, make the adjustment if the ball happens to bounce high. That time he started high with the glove and couldn't get it down quickly enough.
Here's Marlon Byrd, and he takes a fastball high. Yesterday the Cubs made some cuts. The two most significant, Brett Jackson and Anthony Rizzo, their top two prospects. I remember even last spring Marlon Byrd talking about just trying to hold off Brett Jackson. And I think Marlon realizes that at some point Jackson will be here for good. Now he can play all three outfield spots, but I think everybody would love it if he could play center every day. Well, he was really good, and Anthony Rizzo, Bob, got better and better and better offensively as the spring went on.
No question about it, Len. I along with a lot of people, had some questions about Rizzo's ability to turn on a fastball early in camp, but as you said, he got more and more comfortable at the plate. Not only was he hitting fastballs, but he was absolutely crushing off speed pitches. And a much better defensive first baseman than given credit for. He really did a nice job picking balls out of the dirt, making plays to his left and his right. One of those first basemen that plays far off the first base line. You can see why the Cubs and the Padres and the Red Sox like him so much.
That one right through the legs of Bass, and it'll turn into a 4-3 double play. Galvez to Alonso.
It looked like that ball was ticketed for center field. Unfortunately, deflected off the pitcher just enough to give Jonathan Galvez an opportunity to make the 4-3 double play, clean the bases.
And just to follow up on Brett Jackson, you give Marlon Byrd a lot of credit, because Marlon really did take Brett under his wing. Even last year and again this year. And I know Brett Jackson has talked about how much he's learned about the outfield from Marlon Byrd. It's not always the case. Now Marlon goes back to, the Doug Glanvilles of the world, when he was pushing the veterans in Philadelphia 10 years ago. You just try to pass it on.
That's a sure sign of a veteran that's secure in his own abilities, and he knows that all he can control is what he does on a daily basis. Marlon, as usual, prepared himself extremely well this spring. Going to try to take advantage of every at bat, getting ready for the regular season. I mean, he's not, as you said, unaware that Brett Jackson is lurking in the wings, but that's out of his control. All he can do is go out and get ready to play center field for the Chicago Cubs this season and do the best he can.
Blake DeWitt chops to first. That'll go 3-1. And when we come back, we're going to talk with the Cubs opening day starter. Talk about baseball and also a lot of off the field conversation. Hohokam Park in Mesa. Beautiful setting for spring training baseball. Yasmani Grandal, a switch hitting catcher, takes a strike from Travis Wood. Ryan Dempster, I believe, has the headset on. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, guys.
Congratulations on the opening day assignment.
Yeah, thank you.
Your second in a row and the fourth of your career.
Yeah, it's you know, it's always a big honor to start opening day and to be in that starting lineup. So hopefully I can go out there and get a better result than I did last year and win a game.
Well, Ryan, you've had starts on opening day before, and you've also been on staffs where you were the second or third or fourth pitcher in the rotation. What special challenges are there being the opening day starter?
Well, I think that probably the biggest challenge is controlling your emotions. You know, everybody's excited, everybody's pumped up. It's the start of the season, and you just got to go out there and get those emotions under control, and just go out and worry about executing pitches and really setting a tone for the season, going out there and getting it off on a good note.
1-2 pitch is fouled away. Well, you've been here longer than most, believe it or not. I mean, what is this, your 9th year with the Cubs? I mean, when you came here, you were recovering from Tommy John surgery, but around 2004, if I had said you'll be a Cub in 2012, would you have believed me? I know
No.
you would have hoped that were the case.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, definitely would have hoped it, but you know, you look back and coming over here and just getting the opportunity to rehab here and get healthy, and then a chance to pitch here, and it's been just an incredible journey to, you know, relieving and closing to starting, and just been really thankful for every opportunity I've been given, and hopefully continue to play here for a long time.
Grandal fouls out to Joe Mather at first. Some new faces in camp, not only on the field, but in the front office, on the coaching staff. Tell us about how camp has gone so far overall.
It's gone really well. You know, we've had a lot of fun, and with that, we've had a lot of hard work. And sorry, my son's asking me a question. Sit down here for a second. And
put a headset on him.
I think you know, I think it's been really exciting. We got a lot of fresh new faces and guys who are really pushing the envelope and doing as well as they can. We put in a lot of hard work on the backfields, you know, and at the same time we're really enjoying it and looking forward to the season.
Boy, Brady is getting old.
Yeah, he's getting big.
Big kid. Is he a baseball player, hockey player? What is he?
He's a baseball player and a golfer.
All right.
Oh, very nice.
He told me he wanted to be a professional golfer, so I asked him if I could be his caddy. and he said, "What's a caddy?" I said, "It's somebody who carries your clubs." He said, "But you already do that."
Oh, my.
So I said, "Not anymore, I don't."
He's his father's son, isn't he? Yeah.
We're here with Ryan Dempster, who will start against Steven Strasburg on opening day at Wrigley Field. And the early forecast sounds like upper 50s. Have you been paying attention to the weather back home? It's incredible.
Yeah, it's been pretty unreal. You know, everybody's expecting, they're all waiting for it to get freezing cold, and I hope it doesn't change. I hope it stays that way, and it's nice throughout the early months of the season and have a beautiful summer in Chicago and not have to deal with that blistering cold weather sometimes.
Well, I'm glad Brady's with you in the dugout. It's a nice segue to talk about your family. You're in your mid-30s now, although a young mid-30s, I would say.
Thank you.
I know you don't take any of this for granted, the fact that you get to play Major League Baseball and be an opening day starter with the Chicago Cubs, but your family's very important to you. We've gotten to know Riley, who's dealt with a lot of health issues. First of all, how is she doing? And we want to talk about your foundation.
She's doing really well. You know, she's hitting all her milestones, you know, ahead of what we ever thought she would do, and she's overcome a lot, and I think that's a tribute to you know, the work that Jenny's done, and helping advocate for her health care, and you know, Brady being a big brother and really teaching her a lot, and just really surprising a lot of people, including me and everybody in our family, the things she continues to do. And she's going to be 3 in a week, and it's just it's really fun to watch her grow up and chase her brother and sister around.
Talking about Jenny, of course, the brains behind the operation, your wife, and the Dempster Family Foundation. It's Dempster Family Foundation Awareness Day here at Hohokam Park. So you've got some friends you invited out here today, right?
Yeah, it's great. We had a chance to bring out about 20 family members who have children with the 22q deletion and DeGeorge syndrome. and had a chance to come out here. We had Charlie throw the first pitch out. One of the children who's affected by it, and just really keep driving the awareness. That's what it's all about. Obviously raising money is huge because it allows us to do a lot of great things, but also the awareness that's gone out there. It's really been remarkable, and where this the knowledge of this syndrome was when we first found out to where it is now is just head and shoulders more than we could ever imagine.
2 down in the inning. You've got the big Dempster Foundation Casino Night. It'll be the 3rd one on May 9th at the Palmer House, Chicago, and they're always well attended, and I know you're encouraging everybody to come on out for a great night and for a great cause.
No, absolutely. That's the one thing we always said. We just like to throw a really good party that raises some money. So, our fundraisers are a lot of fun, and Casino Night is just a great opportunity to mingle with the players and, current Cubs and past Cubs and other celebrities from around Chicago and have a fun night, almost like you're going to Vegas for the night, but you're playing for funny money and not for real money, and, donating to an amazing cause, and, a great opportunity to win prizes and great auction items, and all go into the 22Q families and the Dempster Family Foundation. So it's a great opportunity.
Ryan, thanks so much for the time. Congrats on the opening day nod, and you and Brady have a good time today, okay?
Thanks guys, I appreciate it.
That's Ryan Dempster. No score. We are easily reachable via email, LennonBob@Tribune.com, on Facebook, and on Twitter as well. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks to Ryan Dempster for chatting with us. Cubs bat in the bottom of the 2nd. Matt Garza will pitch game 2 of the regular season. I believe lefty Gio Gonzalez will go for the Nationals. The 3 and 4 starters not yet determined. That struck very well to deep left, and it's going to bang off the barrier and get way past Darnell. And an easy double for Alfonso Soriano. Paul Mahalam will be in the 5th spot, so still 2 spots to be determined in the Cubs rotation.
Soriano continues his hot hitting down here in the Cactus League. He has been a man on fire, especially with the extra base hits. You mentioned 5 home runs, and this hooking double straight away left field directly over the head of James Darnell. And Soriano will cruise into second base with a leadoff double.
Brings up Jeff Baker playing third. He hits one to deep right. Hermida in the corner. Soriano tags. Nice job by Baker to move that runner up.
Nice approach by Jeff Baker, trying to get the job done. Moved Soriano from second base to third base, and that time it was a deep fly ball into the right field corner that moved Soriano into scoring position easily for Darwin Barney. Soriano has said his legs feel much better this spring. Doesn't really have to go full force this time. Knows he's going to advance the 90 feet.
Darwin Barney takes ball one outside. I'd like to see whatever bruise he has under that shin guard. I'm sure it's pretty nasty. As he's going to knock in the first run on a sacrifice fly. Make sure you check out our WGN Baseball blog. Brought to you by Jeff Vukovich, nationwide agent serving the area for 33 years. For your auto, home, and business insurance needs, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. I have a post about the pitching decisions. We have photos from Hohokam today and much more as the season gets underway as well. Joe Mather foul tip strike one.
Well, that first run of the ball game, Len, is something we saw all too infrequently over the last number of years in Chicago. A manufactured run. Of course, it all started with the Soriano double, but an unselfish at bat by Jeff Baker to move him to third, and then Darwin Barney with a sac fly to plate a run with only the leadoff double.
3 flyouts to end the inning. 1-0 Cubs.
The 2012 Chicago Cubs baseball season on WGN TV is brought to you by Bud Light. It's a sure sign of a good time. Here we go.
Kerry Wood signing some autographs. One of the great sights of spring training. Players are much more accessible. Leading 1-0.
I was about to say, Len, not only that, but certain guys know today I'll get my work in early in the morning. I'm not scheduled to pitch in the ball game, and I got time on my hands. Might as well sign a few autographs. You catch guys who, in effect, have an off day here at the ballpark.
Outside to the pitcher, Bass. Anthony Bass went to Wayne State from Dearborn, Michigan. Called strike. And a chopper foul. we're both hoping to be slightly distracted this weekend with the NCAA tournament, but our alma maters are both out. Ohio U and Marquette.
Yeah, man.
Oh, well, at least they got to the Sweet 16, right?
Yeah, small consolation, but yeah, great year for the House Cats, and hopefully just the beginning of a real nice run down in Athens. I know Bobcats fans all around the country were really excited last night, taking the Tar Heels into overtime, but just wasn't to be.
Here comes Venable for the second time. He's in center, but probably being right to start the season with Cameron Maben in center. Padres will be without Carlos Quentin to start the year, as he just had right knee surgery, so he's going to be out month and a half. We know the Padres can pitch. They finished last year last in their division. They had the same record as the Cubs, 71 and 91. But even their pitching staff has changed. Heath Bell now in Miami. Matt Latos traded to Cincinnati. So Edinson Volquez has been added. Aaron Harang is gone. You've got Clayton Richard coming off shoulder surgery. Dustin Mosley coming off non-throwing shoulder surgery. So in that big ballpark, and with Bud Black as their manager and Darren Balsley, who's done a great job, you always assume that they'll figure out the pitching.
They'll figure out the pitching part. Scoring runs may be an issue once again for the Padres. Their home park is not conducive to the long ball, so we've seen the Padres over the last few years try to get more athletic guys that can field their positions well, especially the outfielders and guys who hit the ball from foul line to foul line.
And that one hits Venable. Bob, we want to honor Robert Brinton, longtime Cactus League executive, was president of the Mesa Convention and Visitors Bureau, and a huge Cubs supporter. Robert passed away in October. We talked to Robert at Wrigley Field each summer to preview the next year's spring training. The Cubs honoring him with the logo with the RB and also a flag out beyond the berm in left center. Robert's entire family was here earlier. Tom Ricketts, the Cubs chairman, paid tribute to Robert, and he will be missed. And we also want to send out our condolences to the family and friends of longtime Chicago sports writer Lacey Banks, who passed away a few days ago at the age of 68. Had a long battle with heart disease, and you know, most of our viewers out there have read a lot of his work in the Sun-Times, and we want to pass along our sympathies. Two strikes. Jed Jerko.
Do you think Jed Jerko takes any abuse from his teammates?
Oh, probably. Runner at first, one out. And a little low. 1-2.
And that runner at first, you better keep an eye on him. Will Venable, 6 stolen bases already down here in the Cactus League. And no caught stealing. A little tougher against the lefty Travis Wood, looking right at Venable over there at first base.
Tapper foul. We'll be back with you tomorrow afternoon from Goodyear. The Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. 3 o'clock Central Time. Rodrigo Lopez and Genmar Gomez, a couple of right-handers. And a big day and night of sports here on WGN. Tune in tonight at 7 Central on WGN and WGN America. Check out the team with the NBA's best record. The 39-10 Bulls will host the Toronto Raptors. Neil Funk, Stacey King will bring you all the action on WGN tonight at 7.
Well, Len, you mentioned Rodrigo Lopez starting that ball game against the Indians over in Goodyear tomorrow. He had a great outing last time out against the Oakland Athletics. Went 5 innings, gave up only 3 hits. So far on the spring for Lopez, 12 innings pitched and only 9 hits, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk. He's looked really good. Has a little extra zip on his fastball this spring.
Well, here's I guess the bad news. You know, the Cubs bullpen pretty late here in camp doesn't have a ton of guaranteed spots. There are issues there. Marcos Mateo, who is in competition, has a sore elbow. Fortunately, the MRI was negative. He left the game the other day versus Texas, but he will not even throw a pitch over the next 10 to 14 days. So he's out of the mix for the opening day roster. But what it does do, Bob, is it opens some opportunities for guys who don't make the starting rotation. There may be 2 guys who miss out on the final 5 who could end up in the bullpen. And I think Rodrigo Lopez is one of those guys.
Well, and as we saw last season, those injuries to your rotation early in the season can really be debilitating.
Marlon Byrd going back, gets to the spot, and makes a catch. A lot of air underneath that high, deep fly ball.
One thing any good outfielder will do on a deep drive like that is get to where you think the ball is going to come down and then make adjustments. That particular time, Marlon ran to the spot and was right where he needed to be. Played the ball off to the side just a little bit to try to keep it out of the hazy sunshine here in Mesa. But once again, if you weren't with us on some of our earlier telecasts, that's something that Dave McKay has worked extensively with the Cubs outfielders this spring. Those fly balls that are hit up in the sun, not only directly at the outfielders, but balls hit to their right, hit to their left. Learn how to play that ball off to the side, and to use the quote they use, keep it out of the sun. Use both your glove and your bare hand if necessary to shield your eyes from the sunshine.
Line shot, and it'll get down, and Soriano did a good job just to knock it down. If it gets by him, it would have scored. Will Venable. You don't have to field every ball out there cleanly. You just got to knock it down sometimes.
Especially a line drive like that. Talked about Alonso after his first at bat in the ball game. This young man can really swing the bat. A line drive, probably a good 350 feet from home plate, that handcuffs the left fielder. That was actually a nice job just to knock it down, keep it in front, and make sure Venable did not come around and score. Another drill that Dave McKay used with the Cubs outfielders this spring as they took their fly balls and ground balls. He set up one of the protective screens that is normally set up in front of first base or second base during batting practice. Big, tall, square screen. Completed after the 3rd out of the inning here.
Blake DeWitt with the catch. They strand a couple. 1-0 Cubs in the 3rd. everyone is ready to see the players in action. Tickets are now available for the 2012 season, including some of the biggest matchups of the year with the White Sox, Red Sox, and Cardinals. To purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com, call 1-800-THE-CUBS, or visit the Wrigley Field box office. Some fun in the sun here in Arizona. Cubs looking for their third consecutive win, as Wellington Castillo in a battle for the backup catcher job, thrown out by Andy Perino.
I was starting to talk about Dave McKay and one of the drills that he did with the Cubs outfielders this spring. He lined them all up out into center field, and on the first base line in foul territory, he set up one of the protective screens. Now, normally in that particular drill, the guy catches the fly ball, the ground ball, whatever the case may be, and you just kind of lob it back into the coach that's hitting the fungos. But instead, Dave McKay wanted his guys to get used to getting their footwork right, to timing ground balls as they were charging, and come up throwing. And they actually put what appeared to be an infielder with his hands up. It looked kind of like a goalpost. And the idea was that every throw should come back and go through the uprights for a field goal. And it was just a way to add a little fun to what is normally a very monotonous defensive fielding drill. I really like that aspect of the entire Cubs coaching staff this spring. They got a lot of fundamental work done, but found ways to make it interesting.
Yeah, the 64-man bunting tournament won by David DeJesus as Travis Wood grounds out. The daily base running drills, which are twofold. Not only the right angle to hit the bag with your right foot as you round first, second, and third, but also cardio. Get your running in.
That's usually not a real fun day for the players. They all line up at home plate. You run a single and then stay at first base. You run a first to third, stay at third base. You tag up and score on a fly ball to the outfield. Then you run a double, score from second on a base hit. Then you run a triple, score from third on a sac fly. And then it finishes with an inside the park home run with very little time off in between.
DeJesus reached on an error in the first inning. He will be the Cubs leadoff man on opening day. One and two. It's like Tim McClellan is in midseason form with a very slow, deliberate strike call.
Man, we've talked about Tim McClellan many times in the past. He is very deliberate with the call that he makes that fans and the broadcasters can see, but down at field level, he lets the catcher and the batter know immediately whether the pitch is a ball or a strike. It just takes him a little while to get that right arm up in the air.
Jesus chased a breaking ball in the dirt. The Cubs go down 1-2-3. Cubs leading the Padres 1-0. San Diego will bat here in the 4th inning, and it's great to have with us in the booth the Cubs' new Executive Vice President and General Manager, Jed Hoyer. Jed, thanks for stopping by. 12 games, including today, left before opening day. I know that when you start spring training, you go, man, you got 6-7 weeks before it comes. All of a sudden you get to this point, and it's kind of that rush to the finish line here, isn't it?
Yeah, I always feel like the off day is sort of that line of demarcation, that once you get past the off day, you know, you kind of start counting down. And, you know, at this point in the spring, we've had a good spring. I love the way Dale's run the camp. You know, now you want to get out of here healthy, and that's the honest truth. You know, let's get up north. Let's start the season. I think the guys are pretty close to ready to play now, and let's get healthy and let's go north and play some baseball.
On a professional and personal level, to say it's been an interesting and busy offseason for you would be a huge understatement. But you seem very relaxed. I know that being a general manager of a big league team isn't easy, and you know, talking to you and Theo, it's really not a one-man job these days, with everything that goes into it, right? In terms of staying in touch with other GMs, watching your own minor league system, your big league team, dealing with scouts who watch players on other teams. It's a 25-hour a day job, isn't it?
Well, there's no question, and I think people always ask how Theo and I divide stuff up, and the truth is I always just think usually it happens by common sense. You know, who has a better relationship with this GM, who has a better relationship with this agent. You know, we've both done the job, you know, Theo for longer than me, but you feel like it breaks down pretty naturally, and there's certainly no shortage of work for where we want to go and what we want to do. And if we have two people that can do it, it might speed that process up a little bit so we can do it faster. But yeah, there's no issues with Theo and me, because we've done this. We've worked together for so long that so much of it's, you know, based on relationships and based on common sense.
Wood has hit 2 batters today, so they had 2 on with nobody out here in the 4th inning.
I'm breaking a clear rule of coming on the air. You never ever go on the air when your team's in the field. That's a.
Yeah, you were hoping for a quick 1, 2, 3. I know, Jed.
Yeah, that's a spring training mistake I'm not going to make in season.
Okay. Sounds good. Only when the Cubs are batting.
That's right.
Will we talk to you on the air.
You know, Jed, your time in San Diego, you were somewhat handcuffed with a very low payroll, and because of that, a huge emphasis placed on the minor league system, on scouting and development of your players at the minor league level. And I certainly assume that's the same kind of model you'd like to bring to the Cubs.
Yeah, you hope to do the exact same model with money. You know, I mean, it's you know, in my first year in San Diego, our payroll was $38.5 million. You've got no choice with that kind of payroll to really focus on the minor leagues, and that's what we did, to try to build up the system as much as we can to get those young, controllable assets. You know, in Chicago, you want to do the same thing, but you have the ability to retain those players. You have the ability to supplement those holes with free agents. You know, that's really the hardest thing with, you know, with San Diego, is you know that your time with a player is limited, like a player like Adrian Gonzalez. You also know that if you have a hole in the field, you can't necessarily go out and fill it, you know, to the contentment of the coaching staff. So it's a challenge, but it's also a fun challenge too, because you know that if you can build a winner on a shoestring budget, you've really done something.
It's the 2-0 to Perino, and he pops it up. It'll be Jeff Baker in foul territory to make the catch. Jed, you come in with fresh eyes, so to speak, on this organization. Theo does too. Jason McLeod. You've really added to the front office, but you've also kept really most, if not almost all, the people who are in the front office, including assistant general manager Randy Bush. Is it a nice mix of people who have a good idea of what the young players in this organization have accomplished, and bringing that fresh perspective of someone who may not have seen all the warts or what have you about a player?
Yeah, I feel like I had a big advantage, because I went into San Diego 2 years ago and went through the process of learning an organization. And the truth of the matter is, you know, a lot of things you think you know from the outside, you don't really know. And, you know, a lot of explanations for things are very simple once you ask people that are actually there. And, you know, we had a lot of good people in the Cubs front office. I think Jim did a good job with that. And, you know, we kept a lot of them, certainly supplemented with some of our own people. And really, we had such a small front office for a long time, probably the smallest in baseball, that really having the ability to increase the size of the front office is something that's really important. And I was very happy that, you the Ricketts gave us the budget money to increase the size of the staff. And we're actually we're moving office space here when we get back, which is important because we were really on top of each other in the old building.
Speaking with Jed Hoyer, the Cubs executive vice president and general manager. I think another nice competitive advantage, and you hired Dale because he was the best guy for the job, but he comes from Milwaukee. You bring Jamie Quirk from Houston. You've got Dave McKay from St. Louis. Should have pretty good scouting reports on the other teams in this division.
That's a great point. It's a shame that Houston's leaving soon, right? That's a great point. And you know, I know for me going when I went from Boston to San Diego, it was a huge adjustment for me with the National League game. It's so different, and even from division to division, you know, I feel like I know the National League West cold at this point, and those guys feel that way about the Central. So I totally agree. And when it comes to advanced reports, they'll really help. But even this offseason, when it came to evaluating some players, they were really helpful because they do have that knowledge.
I had a nice conversation with Jamie Quirk yesterday, and just telling him that really all the catchers in camp, the guys who were here previously, I felt like are throwing better and defensively seem to be much improved. Jamie and Mike Borzello handling the catchers, and talking about, you know, the manual and the idea of doing things from top to bottom the same way throughout the organization. And Jamie said, you know, the minor league level, the catchers kind of get left behind a little bit because you just don't have as many coaches. And, you know, handing a Michael Brenly the manual and knowing what Michael learned here in spring training, that he can carry it on throughout the season. I think it's a really nice, I would call it tweak. It's a pretty big deal for this organization.
Well, Bob can probably speak to this, but there's probably not a position in sports that's coached worse than catcher. You know, people don't know how to do it. You know, maybe they caught a little bit at a lower level, but really having people that can coach the catching position is hard to find. And when you find guys that can do it, you've got to hold on to them, because there's so many things that happen in a given game. And I was lucky last year. Brad Osmus was one of my special assistants, and sitting there during the game and talking to him over and over about you know, things that catchers think about during the game, technique things. And I mean, I learned so much just sitting there watching games with him, because if you never played the position, there's so many things you just can't know about it.
It'll be a base hit. Terry Kennedy's going to send the runner around third, and he gets in. And everybody's safe. Well, they had a shot at Grandal, but the throw bounced over the glove of Castillo. And it's 1-1.
Yeah, we're just talking about some of those things that are specific to the position behind the plate. Sometimes you're at the mercy of the throw from the outfielder. Unfortunately, this one takes a second hop right in front of Wellington Castillo. A very, very tough ball to make a play on, especially when you know that runner is bearing down on you. Pretty good throw that time by Soriano. Unfortunately, just took that second bounce at a bad time.
And Lester Strode is going to head out. Chat with Travis Wood. We are with Jed Hoyer. Okay, I want to get a couple things out there. Did you play with Mark DeRosa?
I did.
The Cape Cod League?
Yeah, I played with him in the Cape League. I was actually there's two good infielders on that team and two bad ones, and I was in the second category. But yeah, John McDonald was the shortstop, and Mark DeRosa was the third baseman. And what a great athlete he was, and just a great teammate. I'm sure, you know, long after he's done playing, he's gonna be working in baseball. He's an impressive guy for sure, and he was fun to play with.
Mark was here, Bob, what, 2 years?
It was a couple of years.
And one of the most popular Cubs in recent history. He really made an impact.
Not only on the fans but his teammates and opponents. Everybody knew the kind of player Mark DeRosa was, what he brought to the table. Just respect from everybody.
It was fun for me because that summer was really that was sort of his coming out party. He had been, you know, more touted as a quarterback at Penn than a baseball player, and he went to the Cape, and I think he was he made the All-Star team as a third baseman, and really was
good play. Yep, got him at second.
He was that was really the summer that he went on the radar screen. The next year, I think he got drafted in the 7th round out of Penn, but certainly going into that summer, he wasn't even on the radar screen, and he really made a name for himself.
Good athleticism by Travis Wood. Got off the mound quickly. No hesitation whatsoever. Throws a little bit high, but DeWitt able to handle it and get that force out at second base.
And that will be it for Travis Wood. Jed, can you hang for a couple more minutes here?
This is why I said you can never do the pitching inning. Yeah, of course.
It's 1-1. Cubs and the Padres from Mesa. Trevor Miller coming on when we come back. Pitches for Travis Wood, and getting a nice hand from Tom Pratt. We should mention Tom, who was scheduled to be the pitching coach at Peoria this year, dealing with some health issues with a brain tumor. Has the best attitude in the world, and for the fans out there who saw Bob and I with a bracelet on, it says Team Pratt, in this together. He has maintained just an amazing attitude, and it's great to have Tom here at the ballpark today.
But Tom is one of those guys that has a huge effect on every player that he's around. You talk to guys throughout the Cubs minor league system who have either pitched for or worked under Tom Pratt, and to a man, they absolutely love him. Boundless energy.
I was going to say, just the outpouring of sympathy since the diagnosis is just an indication how important he is to the organization. And people, players, coaches, staff, everyone's absolutely loves the guy and loves what he's done for the Cubs.
2 down in the inning as Trevor Miller's on to face Will Venable. We're with Jed Hoyer. Let's talk about your manager, Dale Swain. He's got an old school type vibe to him when you talk baseball with him. Even some of the vernacular is old school. But as an observer, nothing gets past this guy. His use of videotape in terms of spray charts and positioning of infielders, going back to his hitting coach days in Milwaukee. He's got it down.
Yeah, he is old school in how he talks to players and reacts to players. I think they have a lot of respect for him, but it's certainly not a player's manager respect. I think they understand there's discipline there. But yeah, his use of all the modern technology, he's the #1 guy pushing video and pushing advanced scouting and looking at the numbers and figuring out who he's going to play and thinking about those things. So that was a big part of why we hired him, is that we think he'll instill that discipline, but he's also not going to ignore a lot of the advantages that we have in today's game. And why wouldn't you use? You've got angles upon angles of video. You've got stats everywhere that can help you find a weakness in an opponent. Why would you not take advantage of those things?
One thing I really liked, Jed, earlier in camp, Dale was asked about correcting mistakes on the field. Do you wait until after the game? And he said, if we're in the early part of a ball game, it could possibly happen again before the end of the game.
It's a gapper for Will Venable. 1 run in. They're going to try to score 2, and they will. As the Padres now lead 3-1. Continue, partner.
Yeah, I was just saying that Dale, his point was you need to point out mistakes immediately when the player comes off the field, because there's a chance that play might come up again in that day's ball game. So nip it in the bud right away.
That's a great point. And one of the things that impressed me the other day was we were talking about how many players to send out at what time, and his focus as far as sending players out was shortening up the work group so they could get more fundamental time in the mornings. And I've never heard a manager want to send a lot of players out so he could get more focused fundamental time with his players in the morning, and that was his goal, and it's a great goal to have.
It seems that there's a lot of consensus building in this organization with all the added front office members, new members of the coaching staff, incumbents who are already here, and just sharing ideas. Would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the organizational meetings.
Yeah, that was a great way to start spring, because it was right at the beginning. We had 2 days of meetings, really talking through all the different manuals and getting all our people a chance to weigh in on how we're going to teach things. And like I said, it was a great way to start the spring, and for me, it was a great way to start feeling like a part of the organization, because it's hard to do that, in an office in Chicago. But once you get around everyone in spring training, you start feeling like, okay, you're part of this because the people are here and the players are here. You can't do that over the course of a winter.
Jed, before we let you go, I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up Brett Jackson and Anthony Rizzo. As we sit here today, what's your overall philosophy on where they'll be for the whole year? Does it matter to you if they're both at AAA all year? Would you bring them up if there's a need? How do you look at that?
Sure. I mean, I think both guys are very close to ready. I think every player's got improvements to make, and they can go work on things. And we told both of them when we sent them out, like, go, make our life hard. Push us in AAA and make the people talk about bringing you up. And Anthony kind of joked, he's like, I did that to you last year.
Well, Jed, congratulations on this great gig, and we're excited to have you here. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Via email, Facebook, and Twitter. And we got an email from C. Deering. Hey, is AT&T going to have the WGN Multiview channels again this season? And C, the answer is yes, for all Cubs home games on WGN.
So now you know.
Well, the bird went around. Cubs now trail 3-1. Thanks to Jed Hoyer for stopping by.
Well, and if we'd had just a little bit more time, we would have brought up a topic that Jed and I talked about over in Goodyear for a B game last week. He was saying, do we play any night games in spring training? You know, he was of the opinion that it's beneficial to the players to get their body clocks turned around a little bit late in camp as Bird flies out to deep right field for the first out of the inning. And say I'm in total agreement. You know, we all love spring training. We all love the day games. We all love the idea of finishing a ball game at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and having the rest of the evening off. But the reality is, once the regular season starts, especially on the road games for the Cubs, they're going to play mostly night games. And the sooner you can start to adjust that body clock and get used to sleeping a little later, staying up a little later, having your most physical experience of the day come after 7 o'clock at night, I think the teams that do play a lot of night games in spring training maybe have a little bit of an edge on the others. So don't be surprised if we see some night games here at Ho-Ho-Com Park next year.
The Padres actually played last night, and the Cubs without a game under the lights before, I believe, the first Monday night game on the first homestand versus Milwaukee. Swing and a miss. A changeup from Bass. Now working with a 3-1 lead. Pounded on the ground to first. And it'll go 3-1. Bob, we got another interesting email from Ben Bittner in Joliet, Illinois. Has a pitcher ever worn sunglasses while pitching in a game? Is there a rule against it? Well, I don't know if there's a rule against it. I'm trying to think of, would it be considered like a piece of jewelry or something? I doubt it. I think you could if you wanted, but
there might be some restrictions on the kind of lenses that you have in your sunglasses. If you have those highway patrol reflecto mirror lenses, especially for a day game, that might be pushing the rules a little bit. But I don't recall ever seeing any pitcher or any pitcher ever wanting to wear sunglasses on the mound.
Jeff Samardzija doing a little manicuring. And Soriano grounds out. Samardzija really struggled yesterday, but we'll talk about it when we come back. Actually, his manager thinks it was a good experience for him. We'll tell you why. The fifth inning is brought to you by Subway. Get a different regular 6-inch fresh value meal every day of the week for $5. Subway, eat fresh. Lefty versus lefty. Trevor Miller, a strike to Yonder Alonso, who's 2 for 2. Jeff Samardzija yesterday got hit early and often by the Rockies. The ball was jumping out of Salt River Fields at Talking Stick in Scottsdale. It's the first time he really has struggled. But Dale Swaim said it's actually a good learning experience, because he said as a starter versus a reliever, Cubs are going to get Alonso for the first time. Barney, one away. He said you got to mix in your soft stuff. Everything Jeff was throwing yesterday was hard, hard, hard. You can do that as a short reliever, but he said when you're facing 40 hitters, you got to establish your slider and split a little earlier. Another guy in the mix, possibly for a starting spot, is Randy Wells, and he's coming on as the Cubs trail the Padres 3-1 in the fifth. Our Ford upcoming Cubs schedule. We're back here tomorrow on WGN. Cubs and Indians from Goodyear. And then next year is here Thursday, April 5th, 12:30 Central Time. We'll have all the opening day festivities. First pitch around 1:20. And the Nationals and Cubs. Ford, manufacturers of more fuel-efficient vehicles than any other brand. Check them out at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. They call this piggybacking. One starter after another, and it's Randy Wells today after Travis Wood, and Trevor Miller got through the first 4 1/3.
Well, you think back to the at-bat by Will Venable when Dale Swaim chose to go to the bullpen to Trevor Miller, bring in another lefty to replace a lefty to face a left-handed hitter. And you might ask yourself, well, why would that be? Ball lifted high into center field. Should be no problem for Marlon Byrd. Well, Travis Wood had reached his pitch count for the ball game. That's one reason. Another reason, as we've talked about in the past, when you have a left-handed specialist in the bullpen, it's not always easy to match him up against a left-handed hitter from the other team, because the opposing managers will send up a pinch hitter. But because we're only in the 4th inning of a spring training game, you know Will Venable is going to get at least 4 or 5 at-bats in this game today. So Dale Swaim was pretty sure that Trevor Miller was going to get an opportunity to face a left-handed hitter. Unfortunately, he was not able to retire Venable, but he did get the next 2 guys, and now gives way to Randy Wells. That was always a dicey proposition, trying to get a specialist, whether it be a right-handed sidearm pitcher or a left-handed sidearm pitcher, and you know during the regular season what his role was going to be, to come in and get that one tough left-handed hitter, and it wasn't always easy to get him the work he needed against those lefties. That's why many times it's a lot easier to send those specialists to a B game or maybe to the minor league complex where you can match them up against whoever you want on the opposing team and make sure that your lefty specialist gets some time working on left-handed hitters.
Hey, is it Micah that's going in? Micah. Hey,
Grandal up in the air to left.
Micah Owings.
Nice job by Randy Wells. 3-1 Padres. Guests this summer, why not bring them to the ballpark? The new Veen Investment Suites can accommodate anywhere from 15 to 55 guests and include food, beverage, and parking. To book your premier experience at the ballpark, visit Cubs.com/suites or call 773-404-4200. 3-1 Padres. Micah Owings is now pitching for the Padres. Anthony Bass, very good today. 4 innings, 1 run.
Gave up only the 1 base hit, the leadoff double by Soriano back in the 2nd inning. He later scored on the Darwin Barney sac fly, but that was it against Anthony Bass.
Travis Wood charged with 3 runs in 3 2/3. But even with that, his ERA went down about 8 runs. Breaking ball lifted to right. Playable. Hermida on the warning track. Some other things about spring training that you won't see in the regular season. We saw Kerry Wood signing autographs between innings. The Cubs bullpen coach is Lester Strode. Well, he's kind of the pitching coach today here because Chris Volstad is throwing in a minor league game today, and that's where Chris Bosio is.
And certainly you hope it doesn't come up during the regular season, but should Chris Bosio be called away from the team for any reason, somebody's going to have to fill that role. Lester Strode, the most likely candidate to move in from the bullpen, since he spends most of his days down there working with the relief pitchers. So, you know, a little experience here in spring training. It's not unusual for teams to send out a replacement first base coach or move the first base coach over to third and have him give signs one day just in case one of your coaches is unable to fulfill his duties that day. You've got somebody who's capable of stepping in.
Well, how about yesterday against the Rockies? Jeff Samardzija listed as the 9 hitter for the Cubs. Tyler Chatwood listed as a number 9 hitter for the Rockies, a starting pitcher. Well, shortly before game time, Jim Tracy decided he wanted to put Tyler Colvin, the former Cub, in as the DH to hit 9th. Dale Swain wanted Jeff Samardzija to take a few at bats, so the agreement was after Samardzija came out of the game, the 9 spot would become the DH spot. So when Jeff Baker, quote, pinch hit for Samardzija, he became the DH. Now, you'd never see that. I mean, we played under American League and National League rules yesterday.
The joys of spring training. It's all about getting your work in, getting your reps, getting your innings pitched, getting your at-bats, and sometimes you have to play fast and loose with the official baseball rules in order to make that happen.
A 1-out walk to Darwin Barney. Mather takes a strike.
Another thing you might see in spring training that you rarely see during the regular season, a situation just like this, Cubs trailing by a couple of runs, normally not a situation where you might think about playing hit and run, but because it is a spring training game, this is where you want to put players in a position and see what they're capable of doing.
Will be 1-2. And with a tricky bounce played well by Galvez, and that's it for the Cubs in the 5th.
You were a kid and imagining it was you running onto the field. Well, now envision being able to give that experience to your best clients when the Cubs are on the road. Packages range from private dinners all the way to games and home run derby in the outfield. For more details, call 773-404-4161 or visit Cubs.com/premier.
Ramirez reached on a double, hit by a pitch, and has scored a run. We got some happy birthday wishes to send out. Cubs shortstop not in the game today, but Starlin Castro turning 22. And he shares a birthday with our fine associate producer Doug Stanton. Happy 48th to Doug. DeWitt can't get it, and Hermida has his second hit. Also, Castro visited Cardin Children's Medical Center in Mesa, Arizona yesterday. Went to the oncology ward. He met kids who were battling cancer, took pictures. With the children, gave each of them an autographed hat. We're going to pinch runner here.
Running at first base for the Padres.
Marvin Orr. Perino takes ball one.
Also like to send out happy birthday wishes to Leona Arndt. If you don't know who Leona is, maybe you know her as Grandma Tootie from Charles City, Iowa. 91st birthday. Not only that, but they had a question. I want to know what happens to the baseballs. They actually call them dead baseballs after a game. You see many times the ball will bounce in the dirt. The catcher will hand it to the umpire. The umpire throws it over to the home team's dugout. Well, those balls are indeed recycled. The ones that can be cleaned up, the scuff can be taken off the ball, are recycled as batting practice balls for the next day, and eventually those are recycled and sent to minor league camp. Now, we're very green. We try to use those baseballs as long as you possibly can.
A changeup, swing and a miss. And a 2-2 count on Andy Perino.
Now, that's where game balls from the day before usually end up, in the batting practice cage. Either out in the batting cages beyond the right field fence or in actual live batting practice on the field here at Hohokam.
Leaping grab, double play. Darwin Barney, nicely timed. How often do you see an infielder jump too early on a line drive? That ball was not hit as hard as it appeared originally.
And the really interesting thing, Len, is the way Darwin Barney started to get prepared to throw before he even came back down to the ground. He had his throwing hand moving toward his glove, got that back foot planted quickly, and fires on to Mather to complete the double play.
Just like that, 2 outs in the inning. Great to see Larry and Karen Winicky from Morrow, Illinois. Want to wish Karen a belated 67th birthday. Also, they want to send happy birthday wishes. Happy 58 to Susie Green.
Rockford, Illinois, well represented here by the Bonilla family today. Wanted to say hi to all their friends back in Rockford.
Grandpa Tony wants to say hi to Joey and Jacob, Ty, Derek, and Joliet. It's a strike. And it's 3-1. See Wells from the stretch, nobody on, swing and a miss, 3-2.
Well, it's a nice pitch by Randy Wells. We know he relies on that sinker heavily, but if he's able to throw that slider for strikes when he's behind in the count, it's just going to increase his effectiveness, whether it's in the starting rotation or pitching out of the pen.
Good comeback. It was 3-0, and he gets Galvez on the bounce out. Nice defensive work from Darwin Barney, helping out his pitcher on the line out 6-3 double play. Chicago Cubs Charities Race to Wrigley, presented by Atletico, is on Saturday, April 14th, starting at Clark and Addison. You'll run through the Wrigleyville neighborhood along the Wrigley Field concourse and finish under the famous marquee. This year, runners who raise $1,000 or more for Children's Memorial Hospital will run a post-race victory lap around the bases. And to register, visit raceToWrigley.com. Castillo will stay alive. There's no play for Orr, who's now in right. Terry Kennedy, the Padres AAA manager in Tucson, is managing the club and coaching first base today. Here in Mesa, Special Assistant Mark Loretta is over at first. I was going to say, move out of the way, Terry. We're still looking for the changes. Okay, there you go. Beamer Weems is now playing short.
Wow. What do you think he drives?
Probably a 4. Right? Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Hitting for the Cubs, number 2, Ian Stewart.
Well, and you mentioned earlier about Anthony Rizzo. Kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start this spring, but really picked it up over the last week and a half. Same thing can be said for the man at the plate right now. Ian Stewart to pinch hit in the pitcher spot. Got off to a little bit of a slow start with the bat, but really starting to pick it up lately.
And made maybe the best defensive play so far in the Cactus League on Thursday. Diving stab over the foul ground almost at third base. And fired a strike across to get the batter runner. That day he hit his first home run in a big league uniform since 2010. Did not homer last year with the Rockies.
Well, and I had to double check just to make sure. We showed you a shot of Terry Kennedy, the acting manager for the Padres. His father, Bob Kennedy, was a former manager of the Cubs, part of that college of coaches approach that they tried in the early 60s.
Up on the right side of the infield. Galvez, 2 hands on it.
We're talking about a guy like Ian Stewart, who has slowly started to round into hitting shape as the spring has progressed. That's what you would much prefer as a manager or a coach, as opposed to a guy that comes in and lights it on fire the first week of spring training when most pitchers are throwing nothing but fastballs, and then by the end of spring training has lost his swing, can't make solid contact. You'd much prefer guys to struggle early, find their swing in the middle, and then get ready for opening day as you approach the end of spring training.
I hope we get a chance to see Micah Owings swing the bat today. He can hit.
Yes, he can.
Awkward cut by DeJesus to end the inning. 2 scoreless for Owings in relief. 3-1 San Diego. At the official online shop of the Chicago Cubs with the largest selection of authentic spring training gear, including clubhouse caps and t-shirts, jerseys, sweatshirts, and more. Get set for spring at the official source, the Cubs shop. It is 3-1 San Diego. Hard throwing lefty Scott Maine has had a really good spring. He's allowed 1 run in 5 2/3.
6 appearances for Scott Maine. You mentioned 5 2/3. He's given up 5 base hits, only 1 earned run. He has walked 4 batters, but he's been able to pitch around those walks.
Hitting on the 7th inning for the Padres. For 27, pitcher Micah Owings.
Well, you get your wish. Micah Owings is going to take the at-bat here.
Well, hopefully Maine strikes him out. That's what I'm talking about. He's a pitcher.
We don't have a Padres media guide in the booth today, but I recall reading in the past that Micah Owings held the state of Georgia home run record for a high school player for a long time. He might still hold that record for all I know.
Had a really good year on the mound for Arizona last year. Trying to think of guys who, Carlos Zambrano occasionally used as a pinch hitter. Micah Owings a little bit more often. And he's been on a big league roster. But think about a guy, Brooks Kieschnick. Played a little first base, pinch hitter, pitcher. If there's a pitcher today who you would think about using occasionally if he can play any other position just as an emergency, it might be this guy, considering what he does with the bat.
Well, there was some talk early in his career that maybe a full-time position change. He had struggled somewhat on the mound, but as you've mentioned and as we've shown throughout this at-bat, this guy can swing it.
And he strikes out. There you go.
We wanted to see him have an at-bat, and we wanted to see him strike out. I think back to my playing days, Len, Don Robinson, when he was a youngster coming up with the Pittsburgh Pirates, after his first year in the big leagues, they sent him back to instructional league and had him play center field and hit 4th every day. Served him well in 1987 in the clinching game to win the National League West. He hit a home run down in San Diego at old Qualcomm Stadium. He was used as a pinch hitter. Certainly it's not unusual to see pitchers used as pinch hitters in sacrifice bunt situations. But to go up there and swing the bat and try to do some damage, it's very infrequent.
Kieschnick mostly in the outfield. Finished his big league career with Milwaukee. That's really where the experiment was used the most. And you may remember he was with the Cubs in the mid-90s. But he didn't pitch until he was with Milwaukee at the very end. Well, you have plenty of guys who convert. I mean, Ron Mayhay goes from position player to reliever.
Randy Wells, Carlos Marmol.
Yes. I mean, even guys who get to the big leagues at one position, they become a pitcher or go the other way, and that's it. Rick Ankiel. But there aren't many guys who've done both at the same time.
There's a lot of position players that think they could pitch. Come out to the ballpark early as the players are playing catch in the outfield before a ball game. You'll see outfielders throwing knuckleballs and infielders throwing curves and screwballs. And I think they all think they can pitch.
Well, there's the pitching coach. Chris Bosio is back. Not sure where the minor league game was, if it was at Fitch.
I believe it was over in Scottsdale against the Giants today. Yeah. Short trip.
There's a strike. I mentioned the Reds' bad news. Ryan Madsen done for the year with a bad elbow injury. Well, Chris Carpenter has some nerve irritation, so he's got some shoulder weakness, and he's out indefinitely for the Cardinals. Runner goes, swing and a miss. Safe at second. So Jerko strikes out. And Fuentes gets a steal.
If you're catching instructor or a coach for the Cubs right now and you're grading Wellington Castillo, what you write on your card is NC. No chance. Tremendous jump over at first base, went on first movement, still got rid of the ball quickly, even though the throw was on the shortstop side of the bag, had no chance to get Fuentes at second.
Nate Freeman playing first. Steele will have to walk that one off. Look at all that protection he has, and the ball will still find a sensitive, tender area.
It'll find the unpadded areas. It's inevitable. I'm still waiting for somebody to come up with that full body suit, you know, like a skin diver suit, but with padding, so that there are no uncovered areas. They're going Shark Tank. Try to pitch that to Mark Cuban. Set of catcher's gear that covers you from ankles to neck.
Off of third goes Baker. And that's it. Stretch time in Mesa. Cubs trail the Padres 3-1. And Bob and our WGN Sports crew from lovely Mesa. 3-1. Padres have the advantage. Cubs haven't had a whole lot going offensively. One hit, that was a leadoff double by Soriano in the second. Always have candidates for the most bizarre injury of the spring. How about Jabba Chamberlain? Dislocated right ankle, jumping on a trampoline. Bloop hit. Second for the Cubs for Marlon Byrd.
It's that time, Len. Let's take a look at today's Bud Fan Cam. I'm a girl watcher, watching girls go by. I'm a girl watcher. I'm a girl watcher. Here comes one now. I was just a boy when I threw away my toys. I found a new pastime.
And a base hit as Byrd lost his helmet trying to get out of the way of that bouncer. Blake DeWitt with a single, and the Cubs are in business.
A lot of girl watchers here today. The occasions back in 1968 as we get a look at Blake DeWitt with that bouncer to the right side. That's actually heads up base running by Marlon Byrd just to get out of the way. If he's hit by that grounder, he's out. So do a little bit of a limbo, loses his helmet, but advances on to second base. Cubs have it cooking here. Our Bud Fan Cam, as always, brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of the thirst inning. Great times are on deck. Grab some buds.
How about a fastball?
Ooh, I dare you.
Soriano tied for the Cactus League lead with 5 home runs.
Here comes one now.
Cubs came in tied for the Major League lead as a team with Detroit. 29 home runs.
Home run swing, just a little bit under that offering from Micah Owings. Fouled it straight back over the head of Tim McClellan. We all like results. You love to see results. You like to see your line in the box score filled up with crooked numbers, but I tell you, at this time of spring training, you like to see good swings like that. Even though it didn't produce a base hit or a long ball, that was a good hack by Alfonso Soriano. That one, not so much.
Well, it might get Byrd to third. Here he goes. And he's there with 1 out.
Now batting number 3, third baseman Jed Hoyer.
Baker's flied out deep to right field twice in this ball game, including back in the second inning to move Soriano up to third base, where Barney drove him in with the sac fly. Take another deep fly ball to right field right here. Played a run.
Partner, we do not go to the ballpark in Arlington, Texas, this regular season. I'm really bummed about it because, you know, we tried a lot of the ballpark food around the major leagues. Have you heard about the 1-pound hot dog they're going to serve?
Yes, I did.
$26.
Wow. Man. You could take a whole Little League team to the ballpark and feed them with one hot dog.
The champion dog, they call it in the restaurant there. It's called the Boomstick at concession stands throughout the ballpark in honor of Nelson Cruz.
Somebody said it looked like a fungo bat in a bun. Well, we might have to make a trip to Arlington on an off day just to
try.
Yeah, just to give it a shot.
Yeah. According to the story, it says a hefty carrier complete with handles is available if you need it. DeWitt takes off. He's caught now between first and second. Bird went back to third. And now he is going to race home. Throw there. Out. Well, that was a bizarre looking play.
We'll have to check with the coaching staff and Dale Swaim after the ballgame. That almost looked like a designed fake squeeze. Marlon Byrd started down the line from third and then stopped. Jeff Baker initially showed bunt in the batter's box and then pulled the bat back, and in the meantime Blake DeWitt was running from first to second. Timing off just a little bit, but that almost looked like a design play. Once the play is broken up at home plate and third base, Blake DeWitt is out in no man's land. Just tried to stay in the rundown long enough to give Marlon Byrd an opportunity to sneak down that third baseline, but the Padres very alertly able to throw him out at home plate. And once again, now is the time to try things like that. If you've got some trick plays in your arsenal, now is the time to try them.
It will be the first baseman, Freeman, to make the catch. We're watching mostly baseball today, among other things. I'm a girl watching girls go by.
I could throw a ribeye steak over those mountains, but
12,872 packed into Ho-Ho-Com Park today.
Where would you rather be today? Absolutely beautiful baseball weather once again. Crowd full of Cub fans out here at Ho-Ho-Com Park. Figures to be more of the same tomorrow.
Lendy Castile, Cubs Rule 5 pick. From the Philadelphia Phillies. And he gets a roller off the bat of Darnell. Baker takes care of him. Reed Johnson's now playing left for Soriano.
Number 12, catcher is
We were talking about guys making position changes. Lenny Castillo, one of those guys in his time in rookie ball with the Phillies, 3 years. Went from 286 to 212 to 179 and found his way to the mound, and I think he's found a home.
Well, Cubs like him a lot. One and one on Grandal. How about Chipper Jones, Bob? He announced that he's going to retire after the season. Well, the Braves disclosing today that he's going to have left knee surgery. He's got a torn meniscus.
Kind of good news for Chipper and the Braves. That's a relatively minor surgery to come back from.
Hoping he's back for the home opener, which is April 13th. So they only expect him to miss 6 games.
Pretty good breaking ball that time from Castillo to Castillo. An all Castillo battery.
Marvin Orr, and we'll have a pinch runner. Michael Stokes will run for Grandal.
Pitch running for the Padres, first base number 94, Michael Stokes.
Look by Castillo, and now Wellington will head on out.
Not sure if this is an issue with the signs themselves or just pitch selection. Well, this is what you should do if there's any disagreement, any doubt in your mind whatsoever, whether you're throwing the right pitch or not. Get together, talk it over, come up with a game plan.
Going to get him.
That was close.
Very close.
And Stokes has a huge lead over there at first base. You see that cut of the grass. He's out past that. Maybe just did get his hand on that back edge of the bag before Mather could apply the tag. It's a good rule of thumb for a base runner, especially a guy who has enough speed to steal a base. If you have to get back on your belly and every play is close, you probably have about as much lead as you can get over there. If you can get back standing up, you could probably take a little bit bigger lead. And if you get back and you're out, you had too big of a lead. Close, but Stokes able to get back in on his belly every time.
Way out in front. That ball pulled foul.
Base running is one of those things, Len, it's kind of tough to work on base running in spring training because you need to get on base first. You can bring guys in as pinch runners in situations where you want to see your base stealers get a maximum lead and try to steal a base. But yeah, if you're in the lineup, you need to hit your way or walk or get hit by a pitch. Somehow find your way on base so you can work on those things that you're going to need to do during the season. Two's a good count to pitch out if you do think Stokes may be on the move over there at first base. Got a couple pitches to play with here in the sequence.
Stokes fake towards second, swing and a miss. How difficult is it for a batter during a sequence like that when pitcher's very deliberate, taking a lot of time. He gets in the set position, and more than half of the time he throws to first. Maintain your concentration.
And that's when you see sometimes those at bats seem to last forever because the pitcher's paying a lot of attention to the base runner, the throws to first base, shaking off the catcher. The batter has to step out of the box and refocus, get his mind back on the task at hand. And you especially see it in those close games late. The guy on first base with good base stealing speed, his run is important in the ball game. That's when occasionally the pace of the game will come to a near halt. I'll tell you what does bother hitters a lot is if a runner bluffs to second base like we saw Stokes do for strike 3. I mean, the hitter sees that out of his peripheral vision. You're focusing on the pitcher. You're looking for that release point, trying to pick up spin on the baseball and decide whether you need to swing at it or not. But when you see that runner bluff towards second base, that changes everything. There figures to be a big hole on that right side of the infield. You're in protective mode anyway as a hitter, and then the runner stops. And you're caught in between as a hitter, sometimes swinging at pitches that you normally wouldn't have offered at. I've seen that start fistfights between teammates before. Either run or don't run, but don't bluff. Well, Mather getting some work on his tags over there at first base in this inning.
Inside to Beamer Weems. William T. Weems goes by Beamer. A solid defensive middle infielder. There goes Stokes, and a swing and a foul back. Padres got all 3 of their runs in the 4th. The Cubs got theirs in the 2nd. And a sac fly by Darwin Barney. Runner goes on the 3-2 with 2 outs. It's low. Ball 4.
Second baseman, 7-3.
Galvez with an RBI. on a single in the fourth. He's 1 out of 3.
That last breaking ball down low is going to cause a visit to the mound by Chris Bosio. Let's deal with a real good fastball. They'd like to see him use it a little bit more, try to jump ahead in the count so he's not always pitching from behind.
Chris Bosio doesn't beat around the bush. He's very direct.
Speaking of direct, Len, and we're taking a shot of a dove there for a reason. On this date in baseball history back in 2001 in a Cactus League game down in Tucson, left-hander Randy Johnson wound up and let fly a 98-mile-an-hour fastball at exactly the same millisecond that a dove decided to cross 10 feet in front of home plate. Well, you know who won that one.
David DeJesus makes a grab, and the inning is over. Midway in the 8th, 3-1 San Diego. The Padres lead the Cubs. Time running out on the home team today. As right-hander Ernesto Frieri will take over on the mound. Mention this big crowd here. Over 12,000 in attendance. 12,872.
And numbers up attendance-wise all around the Cactus League this spring. As we talked repeatedly, the weather has been absolutely ideal. A lot of people coming from the colder climes down here to Arizona to enjoy their hometown team. What a spring to do it.
Say cheese.
Cheese. Pizza. We talked about that strong Padres bullpen last year. Frieri, a big part of it. Pitched in 59 ball games. Had a 1-2 record with a 2.71 ERA. Held opponents to a 2.21 batting average.
In on the hands of Barney. Right in front of us, it lands. So the question was asked earlier, has a pitcher ever worn sunglasses, or would a pitcher be allowed to wear sunglasses while pitching in a big league game? And we got a bunch of responses regarding Kent Tekulve, the guy you would have faced.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I don't know if they were sunglasses as much as tinted regular glasses.
Yeah, he wore regular prescription glasses that had that tint. When the sun was very bright, they'd get a little darker, and vice versa. But I don't know if we could classify those specifically as sunglasses.
I guess Tom Bradley of the Angels, another guy who may have worn them, but
ask me if an outfielder's ever worn sunglasses during a game. That's an easy one.
You would never see guys at the plate wear sunglasses, but that's fairly common now.
Well, Cub fans are very familiar with it. Marlon Byrd had different lenses that he would wear depending on the conditions that particular day. If it was a bright sunny day with no cloud cover, he wore very dark lenses, not only in the field, but when he took his at-bats. If it was kind of a hazy sunshine, he had a different set of lenses that he would pop into his glasses. Occasionally he had those yellow ones, those like high visibility lenses.
Will be caught by Darnell. Is he still in the game? I think so.
I'll buy that.
Okay. That's who started the game, so we usually kind of fall back on that option. You get this late, though, you do wonder.
It was either James Darnell or his replacement.
Fouled off by Castillo. The Cubs still with just 3 hits today. And Friere's 0-1. Downstairs. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yeah, it looked like a promising inning back in the 7th. Bird led off with a base hit up the middle. Blake DeWitt followed with a grounder through the right side to put runners at first and second. A fly ball to right field by Soriano advanced the runner to third, and then what we think was a trick play. We'll have to find out from Dale Swaim after the ball game, but ultimately the Cubs ended up not scoring their 2 leadoff base hits. And after that inning was over, we saw it. We couldn't catch it with our cameras, or we'd have shown it to you. But Dale Swaim and Marlon Byrd had a conversation up in front of the first base dugout, which leads me to believe even more than it was some kind of an off-kilter play that you might not see during the regular season. But Dale thought it'd be a time to give it a shot here in spring training.
Castillo plunked. And a 2-2 offering.
Left fielder, number 5, Reed Johnson.
That's one thing you do not want to work on in spring training. Fortunately, got him down below the waist there. No harm, no foul. Hopefully he'll be okay.
Now, having said that, with the 2 hit batters today, Cubs pitchers now have hit 20 opposing batters.
And 2 for the Padres give them 12. They're in second place in the National League spring training stats for hitting batters.
First at bat for Reed Johnson. Swing and a miss. So a 2-out base runner, no runs. We'll go to the ninth, still 3-1. Has been brought to you by Bud Light. It's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. Pepsi Max, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. And by Ford, manufacturers of more fuel-efficient vehicles than any other brand. Check them out at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. Well, there aren't too many pitchers duels in the Cactus League, but that's kind of what it's been today. 3-1 San Diego here in the ninth. And a Chicago guy on the mound, Tony Zych, went to St. Rita High School. Just 4 minor league appearances last year after being taken in the 4th round of the draft from the University of Louisville.
Well, we heard Jed Hoyer talking earlier when we had him on the air about playing in the Cape Cod League, which is one of the premier summer wood bat leagues. Most of the best prospects in the country find their way to the Cape Cod League at some point. Well, Tony did well for himself in the Cape Cod League. He was voted the Russ Ford Award winner as the outstanding relief pitcher in Cape Cod. Also the McNeese Award as the outstanding pro prospect. It was a very herky-jerky delivery, tough to pick up the ball out of his hand.
This is Eddie Rodriguez, who's now catching for San Diego. Really great to see one of our good friends, Lynn Bramer, the fine morning man at WXRT. Here with his son Wilson today, enjoying some Cubs baseball. Up in the air on the infield. This is exactly what the Cubs were doing after batting practice today.
Well, all's well because the ball was caught by Blake DeWitt, but one thing you have to be careful of on these high pop-ups in the infield, the whole infield is right there around the baseball. Nobody covering first, nobody covering second should that ball drop. The ball hit that high in the air. Usually it's the pitcher's responsibility to get over and cover first base in the event the ball comes down on the ground, but that time it didn't matter because Blake DeWitt was able to make the play.
Raymond Fuentes with a 1-out single.
At the plate, number 70, third baseman Jed Hoyer.
So the herky-jerky motion against Jerko. 0 for 4. Jerko looking for his first hit. Runner goes, and that's punched foul. Fuentes already with a steal in this game.
Don't be surprised to see Wellington Castillo snap a throw down to first base. He loves to showcase that strong throwing arm, that quick release, and if he catches a base runner straying too far off the bag after he receives a pitch, he will throw down to first base from any angle. I've seen him make throws to first when his entire body is facing the pitcher, but yet the throw goes to first base. Very deceiving for a catcher.
There he goes again, and Castillo.
Another NC.
Yeah, didn't have a chance.
Unfortunately, that pitch tailed up and into the hitter. By the time he was able to get over there and make the catch, it was just too late to get his body into a throwing position. And with another great jump at first base, Fuentes has stolen 2 bags, and he only came into the game in the 6th inning.
Ball 4. Zike only started 8 times in his 71-game college career at Louisville. 15 saves. 13 of those coming in his final year, which was last year. Hard hit ground ball into left. Here comes Johnson's throw. Not in time. Freeman with an RBI single. It's now 4-1.
Just a well-placed ground ball through the left side of the infield for an RBI single. I say it all the time, Len. In spring training, as a manager or as a coaching staff, you don't mind seeing some things happen that during the regular season you would hate to have happen. You don't mind seeing guys attempting to steal second base on your catcher because you want to see him make his throws to second base. You occasionally like to see that base runner turn the corner at third and try to score to make sure your relay man is in the proper position, make sure your outfielder does what you want him to do. There's a pick attempt by Castillo at first. And you want to see your players put into a position that they're definitely going to be in at some point during the regular season. The difference is in spring training, it doesn't bother you so much if it happens. During the regular season, you don't want to see it happen. We were talking about Jeff Samardzij's outing the other day. Certainly he's going to face adversity during the course of the season. There's going to be outings where he has to pitch out of trouble. And you want to see him in those situations down here in Arizona where there's really nothing on the line and see how he reacts. How does he respond? Does he go to throwing all hard stuff? Does he continue to mix his pitches and use it as a learning experience?
1-2 on Darnell. 2 on, a run in. Another breaking ball, low and outside. Zyke just 21 years old. Now he's run it full after an 0-2 start.
I believe the Padres are going to be on the move here with 1 out in the inning. Full count on the hitter. Runners at first and second. They're a very aggressive base running team as well.
And that gets past Baker. Trickles into left. And the Padres have added another run. It's 5-1.
Fastball out and down over the plate gets the desired result, a ground ball. Unfortunately, Jeff Baker unable to come up with it at third base. Might have been a little distracted by the base runner going from second to third, but that could have easily been out of the inning right there.
So the Cubs now with 3 errors on the day. 2 came in the 3-run fourth. Stokes. Check that. Rocky Gale, the batter.
Rocky Gale, Beamer Weems. Jed Jerko. We've got some names here today.
I think we flew through a Rocky Gale last time we were in Denver. Swing and a miss. He got him. 2 down.
Well located fastball that time. That's nearly an unhittable strike right there. That pitch at the bottom of the knees, just on the outside corner of the plate.
Marvin Orr with 2 outs. And runners at the corners. Fastball caught the outside. 0-1. Well, there are 2 giveaways in terms of, well, really 3 guys who are not in big league camp. A number in the 80s or 90s, no name, and the double ear flap helmet. As it's caught by DeJesus. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th. 5-1 Padres. tomorrow, Cubs and Indians, 3 o'clock Central Time here on WGN Sports. Our producer is Mark Brady. Our director is Skip Ellison. Our associate producer, Doug Stanton. The executive producer, WGN Sports, is Bob Vorwald. The vice president and general manager of WGN Television is Marty Wilkie. 5-1. The Padres with the lead. Miles Michaelis will try to get the final 3 outs.
Well, we talked about it in the open of the show, Len, that Dale Swain was going to start extending some of his players, and we're seeing a perfect example of that today. A couple of pinch hitters in the pitcher spot. Reed Johnson did stay in to play left field, but other than that, the entire starting lineup still intact.
It will be the top of the order, starting with DeJesus. Called strike. Rodrigo Lopez will pitch tomorrow against right-hander Jenmar Gomez of the Indians. More injury news. The Nationals closer Drew Storen might not be ready on opening day. He's got some elbow issues. Chris Perez, the closer for the Indians, was scheduled to make his spring debut today. He'd been battling an oblique. One away.
Young lady hoping to get a great shot of Marlon Byrd. That's a good seat to take pictures right there. Guys in the dugout are right down in front of her. The on-deck circle's just to her left, and with a little bit of a lens, you can get a good shot of the hitter at the plate.
On the ground, charged by Jerko, bare hand, and the throw, and he beats Marlon Byrd. Hey, have you seen Trevor Bauer pitch? The right-hander out of UCLA with the Diamondbacks. Got option to a AA.
I have not seen it, but I've read about his very unusual warm-up routine.
He can throw from foul pole to foul pole. And then before every inning, it's just like a blind throw from behind the mound, right?
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah, he steps off the back of the mound, turns his back to home plate, and just wheels around and fires it as hard as he can toward home.
He'll be in the big leagues at some point. You'd think. He was the 3rd overall pick in the draft last year. I guess he has several different sliders, a wide array of pitches. Blake DeWitt, fly ball deep to center, but it will be caught by Fuentes. A very quiet 1-2-3 9th. The Cubs today could only muster 3 hits as they drop a 5-1 decision to the Padres. We'll have more from Ho-Ho-Com Park in a moment.